on the top of 100b. Hazerik b'yam arba amas is pater. Someone in the ocean, in the river, in the ocean, if he throws 4 amas, he's pater, because that's considered a carmelis. Carmelis is like an in-between sort of zone. It's not a Rosh Hashanah, it's not a Rosh Hashanah. It's not a private domain. It's not really a public domain. So he's exempt, even though 4 amas in Rosh Hashanah would be chayev. This is in the ocean, so he's pater. Let's say there was a large puddle, a swamp type of puddle. Yeah, and people would travel right through it. So in other words, it was right in the middle of the street. So if someone throws 4 cubits in it, well, that's considered Rosh Hashanah, and 4 cubits carrying, throwing in Rosh Hashanah is chayev. Kamu rekak mayim. How big is a rekak mayim? So it's pachas me'asar tvachim. It's less than 10 tvachim deep. If it's more than 10 tvachim, then it goes back to that status of an ocean or a river that becomes a carmelis. The rekak mayim is a Rosh Hashanah. It's only if it's under 10 tvachim. That's what we say. It's pachas me'asar tvachim. No, the Mishnah repeats itself. It says rekak mayim Rosh Hashanah malachas by. If you have this sort of swamp or puddle that public just walks right through, it's in the middle of the street. Hazarik b'teiche dal ramas chayev. Someone that throws 4 amas in that area is chayev, because it's a Rosh Hashanah. Those days their boots were very muddy in the winter. So this was a normal thing. There were puddles. So it's considered Rosh Hashanah. The Gemara is going to discuss why the Mishnah is repetitive. It says mamash the same thing twice. Amalei Humi Rabbanan l'Rava. One of the students asks Rava, Humi Rabbanan is one of the students. I understand why it wants to tell me if someone goes into this puddle, not if someone goes into it, it's telling me that if people go into this puddle, so then it's considered a Rosh Hashanah. Why does it want to say it? Why does it say that twice? It says, one is to tell me the interesting halacha itself. The other one is to tell me that this doesn't apply to other areas. So like this. It's not easy to walk into a puddle. Walk into a puddle, it goes up to your knees, probably up to the waist, 10 tvachim. Up to 10 tvachim. That's tough. But nevertheless, it's considered Rosh Hashanah. Even though it's al yedei adchak, but because people do it, it's considered walking. It's considered hilach. This is considered the what the rabbim do. What about usage, which is al yedei adchak? So we said that if there's a post, like fire hydrant height, in a public area, people would use that post. But let's say up till 9 tvachim, it's considered Rosh Hashanah, a post in Rosh Hashanah. That's not 4 by 4, then it switches. But if it's under 4 by 4 tvachim wide, and it's under 10 tvachim high, it's considered Rosh Hashanah, 9 tvachim, let's say. Let's take it downward. A pit becomes Rosh Hashanah 10 tvachim deep, but let's say it's not 10 tvachim deep. Let's say it's 9 tvachim deep. It's very difficult to use a pit. It's not like you put your things on a pit while you're walking. It's down deep in the ground. So is that considered Rosh Hashanah? That's tashmish al yedei adchak. So what we're doing now is we're saying hilach al yedei adchak is considered Rosh Hashanah. But that's why we say twice. Hilach, Rosh Hashanah malachas by, when they walk through the puddle, it's considered Rosh Hashanah. Why does it say it another time? It's coming to tell me that that's only by hilach, that hilach al yedei adchak is considered hilach. But usage al yedei adchak means like a with difficulty. So then that's not considered tashmish. The Gemara here is asking, why do you have to tell it to me by puddles? You're trying to tell me a halacha about hilach, that hilach only, not tashmish, not other usages. Why do you have to tell it to me by puddles? Tell me other types of walking, other stories. Make it more interesting. Why you repeat the halacha of a puddle twice to tell me this thing about a pit? Gemara says no. Rekak is important. It's coming to tell me that this halacha applies, that walking through a puddle is considered a normal thing. It's considered Rishus Rabbim. Let's not say it's normal. It's considered Rishus Rabbim for carrying in it. That applies whether it's in the winter, whether it's in the summer. Because there's reason to go through it in the summer, and there's reason to walk through it in the winter. But tzrichi, it's not, both are necessary. If it would have said one, and it would have specified which one, the summer or the winter. We'll give each option here. Would have said that that's specifically talking about the summer. We'll say, yeah, people go into the water in the summer. It's hot, and even though it's a little dirty, but just to cool off. I saw someone jumping into the canal last week. So it was hot. It was standing on the bridge. It did a flip over. That was for attention. That's different. So people would go into the water even though it's not so clean. But in the winter, what's he doing in the water in the winter? In the winter, we'd say it's not a Rishus Rabbim. It's Kamash Malan that even in the winter it's a Rishus Rabbim. That's why it has to say it. If would say that it's considered a Rishus Rabbim in the winter, in the winter they're full of mud anyway. What's going to happen? You're going to get a little more. All it's going to do is wash off the thick mud. It's not going to make you more muddy. They're dirty anyway. When people's clothing are more clean, the boots are more clean. So he's not going to walk into the water in the summer. So Kamash Malan that he's going to go that people will walk into the water in the summer. It's considered Shus Rabbim, both summer and winter. Abaya says it's necessary. This is a little strange. I had to read this Gemara a bunch of times. If it's 4 amos long, then we could say that, he doesn't want to get so wet. But just a quick, I would imagine this more like by a sprinkler. There's a sprinkler that spins around, it's okay, I get a little spritz. But if you see the sprinklers on and you're just going to get drenched as you walk through it, so then you're going to avoid it. Abaya says it like this. It doesn't really fit perfectly because when you go in water, you get wet no matter how long the walk is in the water. It says like this. I could have thought that only if the walk in the water is not 4 amos long. But if the walk in the water is 4 amos, then you're going to get really wet. You're going to walk around the puddle in the Rishus. It's not going to be considered a Rishus Rabbim. Ravashi has his own pshat, why it's necessary to say it twice. Dalid. It's unclear if this means Dalid Amos or Dalid Tvachim. Let's say that it's talking about Dalid Tvachim. Could have thought only if it's Dalid Tvachim. But if it's not 4 Tvachim, Mifsi Pasilei, you're just going to step right over it. What happens? if you step over it, we'll say that in the water itself is not the Rosh Hashanah. What's the Rav Ashi l'tamei? And Rav Ashi follows his logic. Damar Rav Ashi Haiman dezorik v'noch aguda de gamla mechayev shari rabim beikim bei. The question is, if things that Rosh Hashanah walk over, but they don't actually use, is it considered Rosh Hashanah? So then a good example for this is a loose slab on a bridge. Everyone goes over it, but they don't step on it. So Rav Ashi says that's considered a Rosh Hashanah. If someone throws something and it lands on the loose slab, that is also considered a Rosh Hashanah. So therefore, it has to say twice Rikak Mayim to tell me that even if there's a type of puddle that people don't go in, but they walk over, and if someone throws into that, he's going to be chayav as if it's a Rosh Hashanah. Because Rosh Hashanah go through it via it, not like through it. They go over it, and that's considered Rosh Hashanah. Okay. We had several interpretations why we had to say twice for Kak Mayim, why the Mishnah repeats itself. Okay, Hazayrik, a new Mishnah. Hazayrik minayam le'abash. We mentioned that the sea is not a Rosh Hashanah. The sea is considered a Carmelis. So if someone throws from the sea onto the dry land, or the opposite. If on the dry land, he throws into the sea. I saw some people throwing bread into the canal on Shabbos. Because I can do people watching outside my window, my front window. So, people, anyway, I went out. I said, I think the Erev ends by the wall of the canal on our side. I don't know if it's the wall of the canal on the other side. I assume it's our side. So if that's the case, you shouldn't throw over the wall. You shouldn't be feeding the ducks that aren't yours anyway. But the Erev wise, there's an issue there. So anyway, they stopped right away. They said, they thought the canal was part of whatever. So, but what is the water? The water is a Carmelis. He's throwing from the Yabasha into the Yam. So, it's going to be pater because it's not a Rosh Hashanah, but Mina Yabasha liyam. Okay, Mina Yam l'sfina. Let's say someone throws from the ocean into a boat, or Mina Sfina liyam, or from a boat into the ocean. It's interesting how they're going to get rid of their wastewater and things, and if they're on the boat. We'll see. The Gemara is going to discuss that. Mina Sfina l'chaverta, from one boat to another, all of that is pater. Okay. Sfinas kshur zubazu, boats that are tied one to the other. Metaltam mizulazu, you can carry from one to the other. This was, I forget, one of the kings made a bridge. Darius. Remember that famous war, Thermopylae. So he took his whole army, the Persian army, took him over a bridge. He constructed a bridge out of small boats. Boat, and then he tied it, and he had led his whole army over some pass. So boats that are tied one to another. I mean, in kshuris, if they're not tied, afapishim mukafis, boats that are tied one to another, you're like metaltam so you can carry. If they're not tied, but they're just mukafis means that they're close by, in metaltam izulazu, then you can't carry from one to another. They have to be tied. They use some fancy rope in that story. They put one rope and another rope so it shouldn't move. So they took, 500,000 people over it. They tied it together with their animals. Okay. The Gemara says, Itmar, there's a statement, Svina, regarding a boat. Rav Huna Amar Meitzian Himena Ziz Kolshu Mamali. Problem, how to get water onto the boat on Shabbos. Let's say it's fresh. Let's say it's fresh water. It's drinkable water, let's say, just to make it easier to understand what they're doing. How do they get water from the river into their boat to drink on Shabbos? The river is a Carmelist, the boat's a Rosh Hashanah. You're not allowed to take from a Carmelist to Rosh Hashanah. Rav Huna says that you make an area of a Makom P'tur. You make a little ziz, a little protrusion off the edge of the boat. That's not 4x4. Well, if it would be 4x4, it would be Rosh Hashanah. Make it less than 4x4. And then you lower something down into the water. What is a Carmelist? You bring it up through the Makom P'tur, and that's going to be fine. Rav Chizda, Rabbi Bar Ravuna Amri, Oisa Makom Arba Mamali. They have this trick. What you do is you make an area of 4x4 and a hole in it. It's sort of like a shaft where when you lower it down, it's all Rosh Hashanah. They made an area, protrusion, to be able to get water up through Rosh Hashanah. The water directly under this would be considered Rosh Hashanah as well. It's a trick. Rav Huna Amar Moitzim and is called Shamalik Savar Carmelis Me'ara Mashchinan Va'avir Mayim Makom P'tur. Very interesting heter. We said according to Rav Huna, the ocean is a Carmelis. You're taking from the Carmelis into the Makom P'tur, into Rosh Hashanah. We learned before that you weren't supposed to do that. You're going to be pater, but so how does Rav Huna get away with that? From a Carmelis into a Makom P'tur. We had this Mishnah once where you can take into a Makom P'tur, and then you can take give from the other side into Makom P'tur. But you shouldn't carry all the way through the Makom P'tur into the other area. Here, that's what he's doing. So the explanation for Rav Huna is like this. Question is, where do you measure 10 tfachim of the Carmelis? You see, a Carmelis has the same status as a Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah only goes 10 tfachim above the ground. After that, it becomes a Makom P'tur. According to this Gemara, Carmelis is the same. It only goes 10 tfachim up. After 10 tfachim, it becomes a Makom P'tur as well. So what Rav Huna says is that I don't measure the Carmelis from the top of the water. I measure the Carmelis from the seabed. So therefore, all the water is already a Makom P'tur. So I'm going from a Makom P'tur into a Makom P'tur, and from Makom P'tur into Rosh Hashanah is acceptable. Unbelievable. See that? He measures from the bottom, and the only way this would work is if the water is water is 10 tefachim deep. That's what we're going to have to accept, as you'll see in the Gemara. But it works. But dinhu this is nami really you don't need this is either. What's this is doing? Making another Makom P'tur. The whole thing is a Makom P'tur, and the boat is Rosh Hashanah. What are you gaining? The water is a Makom P'tur. We're trying to make this recognizable that you shouldn't come to do this in other areas. You take from a real Carmelis into Rosh Hashanah, that could be an issue. So we do some sort of symbolic symbol to show that this is unique. Why did they have to do this shaft where you take it, the water through Rosh Hashanah? They hold that you measure the Carmelis from the top of the water, from the water level. That's where you measure the Carmelis. What's it doing under the water? It's also a Carmelis. But where do I measure the 10 tefachim from above the water? So they were surfers. No, I'm kidding. That's their floor. Maya aras smichta. The water is just a thick ground. The water is just a thick ground. So therefore, it starts from the top of the water level. If you don't make the shaft, then you're going from karmelis to rishus hayachid. With the shaft, you're going from rishus hayachid to rishus hayachid. Amalei Rav Nachman l'Rabbi bar Ravua.
How high above the water do you make the shaft?
Is the boat?
Yeah.
I don't know if it matters. I think they want to do some sort of.
But a karmelis, doesn't it have a level where it has a makom tour if it's so high?
Oh. I see what you're saying. It's gonna go above 10 tefachim. Oh, this is what they're doing. They're turning all the area underneath it into rishus hayachid. Underneath the shaft becomes rishus hayachid. Because this is like a roof, and the edge of it would be like walls that would go down and mechitzas sort of. Even though it doesn't have actual mechitzas.
It reaches the water?
It doesn't reach the water. It doesn't. We're looking at it like maybe it's like pitikra yard v'saisim. I'm not sure how it's how these mechitzas are working.
Okay.
If it says something. I have to look into that, how this mechitzas are working. It's turning it into rishus hayachid. Okay. So Rav Nachman asked Rabbi bar Ravua or Rav Huna. Rav Huna said, "Damar meitzim is this kol shemali zimned leka asara v'kamataltel mikarmas l'rishus hayachid." It's an interesting question. Let's say the water isn't 10 tefachim deep. Rav Huna says that you measure 10 tefachim from the seabed. After that, so we're assuming that the water is that you're taking is already in the makom p'tur. That would only work if the water's 10 tefachim deep at least, and then you're taking the water from on top of that, from the makom p'tur. But let's say the water isn't 10 tefachim deep. You're taking mamish from a karmelis. Taking from a karmelis into rishus hayachid. Amalei. So Rabbi bar Ravua says, "Gamrina dein tefina malachas bachas me'asara." We've learned that a boat doesn't go in a sea, in a river that's under 10 tefachim. You don't put a boat in it. Put a kayak in it. The Gemara says, "V'morshe isla." It could be that you do put a boat in it. So Morsha is the edge of the boat on the top lifts up. I think it's saying that even if the boat, that it is possible to get a boat in this water because the upper part, the boat goes up on the top. It lifts up a little bit. I think it's referring to that it floats. And so therefore, the water could be within 10 tefachim, but nevertheless, it's lifted up. Is that okay? So Amar Rav Safra, Geshusha Yasli Kama, even in such a case that you have the front of the boat lifting up, but there's people that walk in front of the boat with sticks. In such cases, I guess they walk in the water and maybe they sit on the, what's it called, a ream or something. They sit on that and they check to make sure that it's deep enough. They won't take the boat through water that's under 10 tefachim because it could get stuck. Amalei Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Rav Chia bar Ravin. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Says to Rabbi Baravin, Rav Chisda, Rabbi Baravin, Damri Yosem Akamar Ba. According to Rav Chisda and Rabbi Baravin, that says that you do this trick with this shaft. How do you get rid of the wastewater? If you say you throw it through the same shaft, that's disgusting. To put the wastewater there, and then it could be dripping. Then you put the bucket in. The Gemara answers the shadilu adaftan the svina. Wastewater, you do another trick. You pour it on the edge of the boat, and you let it spill down the boat, so it doesn't go directly from your kayach. But it's going from his kayach. You're right, it's not direct, but he's the one that poured it, and from his pouring, it trickles down the side of the boat, and it goes out. Kaycha bekarmelis legazru. They didn't make a gzeira of kaycha by a karmelis. Minat teimra, how do you know that? That there's no gzeira of kaycha. In other words, he's really pouring from a Rishus HaYachid into a karmelis, which is an issue. He's saying, don't worry about it. This could be the reason why we're allowed to use our sinks and tap, and if you have a sewer system. It's just kaichai. Otherwise you have an issue. It's going into some area, some karmelis. It's not Rishus Rabbim maybe. It's going into something, and it's going out of your Rishus HaYachid. So it's not a makam p'tur. It's not going above 10 tvachim. What's the teretz? Kaiche bekarmelis legazu. Minateim the Tanya Svinain metatlem yiteicha liyam b'leimeni yam l'teicha. On a boat, you're not allowed to carry from the sea into the boat, not from the boat into the from the boat to the sea, and not from the sea to the boat. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer, Rabbi Yehuda says, we're on top of Kof Aleph, Amuka, if the boat walls are asara, the ingavaya asara, but the boat isn't submerged 10 tvachim, so I have a real Rishus HaYachid, and it's going directly into a karmelis. I can bring from the boat into the sea, but I can't bring from the sea into the boat. That's very interesting. Gemara asks, what's the difference? It's an important comma there. Why can't you take from the sea into the boat? Because the sea is a karmelis and the boat is a Rishus HaYachid. So mitaychel yam nami. So from the boat into the sea is also an issue. It's the way out from Rishus HaYachid into a karmelis. Elalav achuda. Talking about that you're pouring it on the edge. Shmamina kaicha bekarmelis legazu shmamina. See very clearly from this statement of Rabbi Yehuda that there is no issue of kaicha lekarmelis. Just pouring it and letting it go is not a problem. By Kal Chassidim, by the mikveh, if you remember, there was a sink outside. There was a sign by the sink that you can't use it on Shabbos because it really didn't have a drain. It just fell right onto the ground. I don't know if that was 100% correct. I don't know. Because it fell onto cement, and from the cement it went onto probably the grass of the neighbor or whatever. It could be that that we say a similar thing, that if it falls onto the ground and then from there it falls onto the grass and from there it falls somewhere else, it could be. I have to look into that. But to say that you shouldn't wash there is no problem. Okay, don't wash.
Isn't it watering the plant? Isn't it watering the grass?
1 second. Yes, let me turn this louder, John. Tell me again.
Isn't the problem the watering the grass?
Yeah, the problem over there was watering the grass, not carrying. But and over here we're just learning that koichai by Carmelis. But I think the same thing applies. I remember learning about a sukkah that if you have water on your table, because it rained, how to get rid of the water. So if you have like concrete underneath, you can allow to pour it there, even if it's going to trickle down into the grass afterwards. So maybe it's different. I don't know.
Question.
Yeah.
This where the boat is 10 tefachim, but it's not 10 tefachim deep in the water. Why isn't that similar to the case of the board that was 10 tefachim, where after you put dirt in, it was now not 10 tefachim, was say 9, and the question was whether or not, that was still Rishis HaYachid or something like that. And it seems that question is not being asked here.
So I didn't hear 100%, but are you asking about the boat wasn't submerged? The boat was within 10 tefachim of the water. I think what the Gemara is doing over there, this is telling me a chiddush. The chiddush is that even though there is no makam p'tur, I could have said that it's really a makam p'tur, and you're really just putting it from Rishis HaYachid into a makam p'tur. From the makam p'tur, it's going into the Carmelis. Maybe that's a special heter. We're saying, no, that's not what we're doing. We're going directly from a Rishis HaYachid into a Carmelis. And it's still mutter because you didn't put it in the Carmelis, you put it on the edge of Rishis HaYachid and it trickled on its own. I think that's what the Gemara is doing. It's adding a chiddush. Otherwise, I could have said it's only in that case where it's above 10 tefachim and it's going into a makam tur, and then after the makam tur, it's not your business. It's going directly into the Carmelis, and still it's not your problem because you didn't put it in the Carmelis, you put it on the edge of the Rishis HaYachid. I think, does that answer what you're asking? Okay. Amar Rav Huna, Hani B'Tziasa D'Maishan. These are very small boats. Exactly how they are, it's a little complex, but small boats of Maishan. Ein metaltal memela ba'arba. You can't carry in them. Only within 4 amas. Sounds like they're at least 4 amas. You just spoke about it like they're tiny, like they're like a tube. They must be thin and narrow, and they don't really have 4 tefachim on the bottom. That's our issue. They don't have 4 tefachim on the bottom, so therefore it doesn't get its own rishus. It would be like a canoe type boat, so you can only carry in them within 4 amas. Otherwise, you're carrying in a Carmelis, I guess. This is only if within 3 tefachim of the bottom, you don't have 4 tefachim wide. In other words, the bottom is not 4 tefachim. If there is less, within less than the 3 tefachim of the bottom, 4 tefachim, then it's no problem. Then it becomes its own rishus. If you fill it up with straw, and orvini is ravis, less lamba, then it's not a problem. Why? Because you've just recreated the floor, you've raised the level, and now you have a new floor. And up there, because it gets wider, up there you do have the 4 tefachim, and then it is a separate rishus, and then you can carry in it. Maskeflor of Nachman B'leim Gedachas Mechitz. Nachman takes us into this interesting halacha. It goes like this, that there is these concepts of fictitious walls, halachic walls. They're not really there. It's just, it's considered like it's there. Like an Erev type wall. You have a string. You have a string, and that's considered like a wall. So what's a wall of Gedachas? Gedachas means that good means the word good means wall. And achas means that it descends. So because the boat goes like this, it comes out. So up here, I have an area of 4 tvachim on the top. Let the wall fictitiously go down the side, and it will be a large area, and then it will be its own rishus. Because I'll look at the edge of it and take it down like that instead of taking it diagonal. Take it down like that, and then it will be wider. So, and he asks, he has support for his explanation. He says, Milay Tanya wasn't not taught. Rabbi Yisbar Yudaimer, no, it's kind of B'Rishus Rabbim. If someone puts a reed or a stick in the Rishus Rabbim, U'B'Reishi Traskel, on top of it is a basket. V'Zarak V'Nachal Gabav is Chayev. Now, a basket in a Rishus Rabbim would need to be 10 tefachim high. And it would need to have an area of 4 by 4. So the stick is 10 tefachim. The only thing is that the basket is not really, doesn't take up the whole area. The basket is just on the top of this. But the way it works is we say that this basket travels down, the edges of the basket travel down and create its own rishus within the Rishus Rabbim. And they create a Rishus Yachid in the Rishus Rabbim because of those walls that are going down. Fictitious, halachic walls, not so. You say Gurachas. Umar says, Hachanami. He's asking, name a Gurachas Mechitzta, say Gurachas over here, and say that this boat is considered the right size to be a Rishus HaYachid. Not, even though on the bottom you don't have a shear, but because the walls go down, on the top it's definitely wider than 4 tvachim. Go down, it's like a canoe. Maskefler Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef asks a question on his question. We call it an answer. He says, very cute raya you had. Only thing is, it's not the halacha. The chacham say it's pater. So you brought a source. You brought an inaccurate source. We actually have a source over there that says that you pater if you carry onto it, or if you throw onto that traskel, the basket. Amalei Abaya says to Rabbi Yosef, he thought that you're answering the question that this boat should actually have walls based on this basket, but you say that the basket doesn't have walls. It doesn't actually have walls, so therefore the boat doesn't have walls. It's not a good point. The basket doesn't have walls for its own reason. The boat still should have walls. That's what Rabbi is doing. Vatle Tizbra, but don't you hold? Tanya, you don't hold that there's a special reason here. Tanya Ahmed B'Shus Rabbim Gavaya Sarav Rachav Daled. Let's say there's a Ahmed. Ahmed is a pillar in the Rishus Rabbim, 10 tvachim high, 10 handbreadths high, about 40 inches. Rachav Daled, it's about a foot wide. Ve'im Bikri Daled, but the base of it is thinner than that. So it's wider on the top. V'yesh b'katzer shalei gimel, and it's not attached to the ground in that base. The base that's thinner is not it's attached to the ground. It's not within 3. The whole base is that the thin part of the base is longer than 3 tvachim. So you can't say that the wide part is attached to the ground. That's what we're trying to. We're distancing the wide part off the ground to say that it doesn't go all the way down to the ground. You also hold that you're going to be chayiv in that case. Why are you telling me you don't say gurachas because of the traskel? You do say gurachas. You see, in that case you agreed. Hachanami gurachas mechitzta. We should say the same thing here. Now Abaya goes on, according to Rashi's. Midi area, and is there a different reason Why the Chachamim say pater? Hasam havali mechitza shagadiim baikim ba. See, one of the issues of having a halachic wall is that you can't outright directly ignore the wall. So let's say if it's a you can't make a wall that the animals are just going to walk right through it, because then how does that work? Is it a wall or is it not a wall? It's a halachic wall, but it has to be in a situation where the animals don't walk through it. You see, our Erev is the Tzuras HaPesach. We're making doorways, a bunch of doorways. If that would be walls, then it would be an issue. If we're actually making walls, there would be an issue of just making walls. Making doorways, you can make, people can walk through them. If it would be an Erev over a street, that's a discussion. Okay, whatever the case is, the reason why the basket on the top of the post is not considered Rosh Hashanah, according to the Chacham, and the Chacham say pater, that's because the goats go under the basket. But over here, the goats, don't go under the boats. So therefore, the walls that are going down by the boats, they should be a mechitza over there. It should be considered good achis that the walls go down. Amalei Ravacha Breder Ravacha. Wow. Amalei Ravacha Breder Ravacha. I didn't even realize that. Ravacha, the son of Ravacha, says to Ravashi, Gabisfina Nami Kabikiyas Dagim. What are you talking about? You don't have goats, but you have fish. Seahorses. You have fish that are going under the wall. It's not considered a wall. That doesn't count. The fish don't mess up halachic walls. That's not a problem. How do you know that? It says Rav Tavla asked Ravin a question. Let's say you have a wall that's hanging, it doesn't make its way all the way down. See, a churva is a house that's destroyed, sort of. Churvas, ruin. Now, sometimes the walls are broken. Is it considered a Rosh Hashanah if the walls don't make it all the way to the bottom? So the walls are hanging. So, it doesn't help. It's not a Rosh Hashanah. Ela b'mayim. The only time a mechitza tzliya works is by water. Why? It's a leniency that they have by water, that if you have, it happens to be, we use this if there's two properties that's divided by water, and there's a mechitza that's hanging above the water. There's a discussion in Erevin and in Sukkah about if the properties are considered divided. It's a hanging mechitza. Why do we have that leniency by water, that hanging mechitzas work? But the fish are going under it. The fish don't interrupt the mechitza. Okay. Now the Gemara says, Sfinis kshurs, if the boats are tied, you're allowed to carry from one to another. Gemara says, Pshita. What's the problem? It's all a Rosh Hashanah. A big chiddush. Let's say two boats are tied, but there's a small boat that's in the center, in between the two boats, that's not tied. And you're allowed to go to that one as well. Amalei Rav Safra says, 1 second. Moshe, Shaper Kamret, Metalkin Mizulazut Tinan. Doesn't say you're allowed to carry onto the small boat. Moshe is an expression, he was very great. Rav Safra says to Rava, Moshe, that was meant like Rabbeinu, It says you're allowed to carry from one to another. It doesn't say you're allowed to carry via some other boat that's not even attached. Elam Rav Safar says, so we're talking about making an Erev. That you have to make an Erev, and then you can carry from one to another. If two people own boats, this is by the boat show. Someone's going to go to that on Shabbos. He's going to want to go from one boat to the other. He has to make an Erev with his friend's boat. You can make an Erev, and then you can carry from one to the other if they're tied. Nifsaku, let's say it gets untied. Nasr, then you can't carry. Chazr v'niskashu, then it gets retied. How to get retied? Something suspicious over here. So getting untied is I can imagine. It gets loose. The water loosens it. But it says bein shegig and bein mezidin bein anusin bein mutin. Whether it was shegig, whether it was b'mezid, whether it was anus, I don't know exactly what the case is. Mutin means that they were doing something else and they ended up tying it. Chazar le'ter narishin, it goes back to its original permissibility, and you can carry from one boat to the other because now they're tied again, and the Erev goes back into effect. If you have a mechitza that's set up, ma'arvin u'metaltal mizuluzu, they can make an Erev. This must be like portable, temporary homes. They make an Erev one with each other. Niglu, if the mechitza came down and then it goes back up. Niglu, it's nasru. Then they become asr. However, chazr v'nifashu, if it goes back up, it goes back to its original permissibility. Any mechitza that's made on Shabbos, in whatever the intention was, is considered a mechitza. Mar says, Eily, is it really so? Nachman says that all of this is just l'chumra. We said that if it gets untied, it gets tied again, you're allowed to use it. We say, Reb Nachman says that that's only, not that you're allowed to carry in it when it gets retied. When we say that the mechitzas go back, or that it's considered retied, that is only to tell you that it's a Rishus HaYachid. And if you throw into it from Rishus HaRabim, you're chayav. The mechitzas that were there, that came down, not to tell you that now you can carry within it. That would be a leniency. It's coming to tell you the chumrah, that you can't now throw into it because just the strictness, but you still can't carry within it because the mechitzas came down. The Gemara answers, that's true. You're right what you're saying. That Reb Nachman only said that you're chayiv when the mechitzas go back up, that if you throw into it, but within it itself you can't carry, that's only if the mechitzas went back up, amazed. But if they went up b'shegig or in those other instances, then even within it you can carry. Yeah. I can't hear. Yeah. There are no Lashon Hara mode.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Sorry. Is that Mishum Binyan or Mishum Beitza Shenolod?
Oh. It's a knas. It's a knas.
That's a way out.
A knas, to make sure that you don't do this, to set it back up. They tell you that if you set it up in Mezid, you can't use it anyway. Yeah. It says Chazr le'Teiran. That's only by a shogig or a nusim. Okay. Amar Shmuel, afilu kshurs b'chut hasarbel. Shmuel says that even if the boats are tied with a chut hasarbel, which is some sort of strap that goes around the neck. Rashi says it's called a mantle. Okay. So, Heichidami, what's the case? If this string can hold the boats together, then pshita, then what's the difference? What rope you use? And if it can't hold it, so why is that good? The Gemara says, really, it could hold it. Shmuel is excluding something that he himself said, which was, if you tie the boat with something that can hold it, maybe la tumma, then the tumma can go into it. If one edge of this rope is tied to oyel ames, so that rope becomes tamei, and the other edge of the rope is going into the boat, and in the boat there's kalim, it can make the kalim tamei in the boat, or the boat itself could become tamei if it's a sfinas yarden. If you remember, there was a certain type of boat that could become tamei. Normally we said boats don't become tamei, but there was a smaller sort of boat that would become tamei. So Shmuel's talking about tumah. But if you tie a boat with something that can't hold the boat, then the tumah doesn't go into the boat. Shmuel says that we're talking about you tied it with a chain of iron. It's talking about metal, and metal takes the same tumah that of the item that it touched. And so if it touches a mace, it itself becomes a v'yavaysa tumah. The metal itself takes that status, so therefore the tumah will extend into the boat. So Shmuel was saying that's talking about tying a boat with a metal chain. Avalinian Shabbos, given the la'amida, that's only regarding tumah. Regarding Shabbos, anything that can hold the boat is going to be considered tied, and it's going to become one rishus, and afilu b'chut hasarbel, even if it's the part of the clothing that goes around the collar. Okay.